All right, today we're going to deconstruct one of the most brilliant and, let's be honest, one of the most disturbing essays ever written in English. Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. This thing is a masterclass in satire that can still make your jaw drop almost 300 years later. So yeah, let's dive right in.
So picture this. It's 1729. The essay's narrator starts by painting this absolutely grim scene of Ireland. He talks about the streets of Dublin just swarming with women begging, surrounded by their starving children who are basically doomed to become thieves or sell themselves into servitude. And he frames this whole situation not just as a human tragedy, but as a major economic problem for the entire country.
And then, without missing a beat, in this perfectly calm, rational tone, he drops his solution. He says he's been told by a, quote, very knowing American that infants are actually delicious to eat. He even suggests different ways to cook them: stewed, roasted, baked, you name it. It's that chilling, matter-of-fact culinary detail that just makes your skin crawl.
Now, he doesn't just throw this insane idea out there, he backs it up with cold hard numbers. He actually calculates that out of the poor population, there are about 120,000 children born each year who could be part of this new market. He is literally treating human lives like a resource to be managed on a spreadsheet. You know, the way he frames it is just chillingly logical. He argues it's a win-win. The cost to raise a child for 1 year is tiny, but selling that child gives the mother a net profit of 8 shillings. In his twisted logic, this isn't monstrous at all. It's just good business. It's turning what he calls a burden into an asset.
And this slide, this right here, shows you the core technique he's using. The language is so carefully chosen to dehumanize everyone involved. Mothers aren't mothers, they're breeders. Children aren't children, they're a commodity. And a human body isn't a body, it's a carcass. By stripping away their humanity with words, he makes this unspeakable proposal sound almost rational.
So, at this point, you've got to be asking yourself, what is going on here? Is this guy a complete monster, or is there something else happening? And that brings us to the entire point of this essay.
Okay, let's just ask the big question, the one this whole terrifying proposal is designed to make us ask. Could the author, Jonathan Swift, possibly mean any of this?
And the answer is a huge, resounding no, absolutely not. What we're reading isn't a real proposal. It's one of the most powerful and savage pieces of satire ever written.
See, Swift is using satire like a weapon here. He's taking exaggeration to its absolute limit. Proposing cannibalism to attack a very specific target. But his target isn't the poor people of Ireland. Oh no, it's the powerful people who were letting them suffer in the first place.
So, if he wasn't serious, what was he really so angry about? Well, A Modest Proposal didn't just come out of nowhere. It was his direct response to a very real, very terrible crisis happening in Ireland.
This was the Ireland Swift was seeing every single day. A country just absolutely crushed by poverty, oppressed by English policies, and exploited by rich, completely indifferent landlords. He believed the situation was so awful that his modest proposal was just a logical extension of the cruelty people were already putting up with.
And get this, Swift doesn't really hide who he's going after. He slips in these little lines, these absolute zingers, like this one. It's a scathing accusation, right? The landlords have already metaphorically devoured the parents with high rents and exploitation, so hey, why shouldn't they literally devour the kids? It's a complete punch to the gut, disguised as a dry, logical point.
Now, here's what makes this essay so incredibly clever. Swift wasn't just pointing out a problem. He was absolutely furious that real, practical solutions were being totally ignored, and he brilliantly hid those very solutions inside his own monstrous essay.
So, near the end of the essay, the narrator starts listing off a bunch of alternative ideas for fixing Ireland's problems. And then he just dismisses them all as foolish and impractical. But here's the twist. These other ideas were Swift's actual proposals. They're all perfectly reasonable, common-sense reforms that he had been arguing for in his other, more serious writings. By having his horrible narrator dismiss them, he's basically screaming at the people in charge, hey, you ignore all these sane ideas, so maybe you'd prefer my insane one instead.
And this is why A Modest Proposal is still talked about today. It's so much more than just a shocking story. It's a perfectly crafted weapon made out of words.
So here's the big takeaway. Swift knew that people had become numb. They were used to seeing suffering. No normal essay about poverty was going to break through. He had to create something so outrageously vile that it would physically shake his audience out of their apathy and force them to see just how barbaric their society had become.
He ends with this absolutely haunting challenge. He tells any politician who doesn't like his idea to go and ask the poor themselves if a quick death at 1 year old would have been better than the lifetime of misery they've actually had to endure. I mean, what a devastating final blow.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? Swift used this extreme satire to scream about a crisis that everyone else was ignoring. It really makes you wonder, what problems today, from climate change to social inequality, have we gotten so used to that we might need our own modern, modest proposal just to wake us up to how bad things really are?